This is Ambi. We're going to talk to you about history, musical theater, and why we're living real-life cabaret right now. So I've been thinking about it a lot. Like over the last week, I'm a big fan of musical theater, and I'm a historian. And as I've been watching the news about Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert earlier and all that kind of stuff, I was just thinking about the fact that the same thing was happening in the 1930s in Germany. And in fact, like it's the whole plot of cabaret, right? But a lot of people watch cabaret and completely miss the point, which I guess is how we got to where we are today. In Berlin in the 1920s and in the early 1930s, like cabaret shows, they were like the late night talk shows, right? It was where you could go and you would have these incredible MCs that would be doing satire and comedy and musical theater and all these different things. And in fact, a lot of those places became hotbeds for the people who were against the rise of Nazi Germany. And you would see these comedians like mocking the salute and all these different things. And we know it was working because it was really pissing off the regime, right? So in 1939, as Germany's also like beginning the war, right, invading Poland, Joseph Goebbels is also banning 5 comedians from the Chamber of Culture. Basically means they can't perform in public anywhere in Germany. They were a mixture of comedians and cabaret MCs because they were critical or they just like weren't devout enough towards the cause of National Socialism in Germany. I also was thinking too, the fact that like Zelensky, right, the president of Ukraine, the guy who's been leading Ukraine through this war against Putin, was a comedian, right? He was the Jon Stewart of Ukraine. And I just think we often dispel comedy as just kind of a silly thing people do. And it's often like the first line of defense. It's often the most public line of defense against authoritarianism. See South Park. I think that what the South Park creators are doing is maybe one of the bravest things an artist can do right now. Anyway, I guess the question I want you to think about is, are you going to be the audience member in cabaret who laughs at this because they think it's just kind of goofy and silly and a little weird? Or are you going to be the audience member that is like stunned into silence because you realize that they've proven their point? They've like distracted you and made you almost forget about what was going on in 1930s Berlin outside this cabaret theater. And again, like, we're the cabaret.
The cabaret. Meine Damen und Herren, Mesdames et Messieurs, ladies and gentlemen. Where are your troubles now? Forgotten? I told you so. We have no troubles here.